Hey, this is Principal Jim Van Hoosier here for our October installment of Into the Lion's Den, our monthly podcast where we try to get to know some of our students, some of our teachers, as well as provide some information about things going on in our school. Hopefully, you'll find it either enjoyable or informational or both. Our theme for the month of October is determination. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Vince Lombardi. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength and not a lack of knowledge, but rather in a lack in will. So I think that speaks directly to determination. So I think it's one of those things that I think sometimes people forget to focus on. We need to make sure that we're determined to be successful this month. Parents, please be determined to make sure that you're doing everything you can to see that your kids are successful. Make sure that they're logging in, make sure they're getting their work done, make sure they're reaching out to their teachers, make sure that they're using that tutor button so they can access that tutor. Students, now's the time in the middle of the semester. I call it the doldrums. So from 4.5 weeks to 13.5 weeks, it's that middle part. Everybody's excited to start at the beginning. Everybody's cramming at the end to try to get everything done, but it's that middle part where you can really make some hay. So be determined to fight through the drudgery to success. Seniors, be determined to succeed this year. Be ready to move on to the next thing. Take advantage of all the opportunities. Attend your IGP meetings. Make sure that you're reaching out to Miss Ashley Bobo. You're getting scholarship information if you're going there. You're getting work-based information. So reach out to her. Make sure that you're taking advantage of all the opportunities. Remember that your determination to stick it out when it's hard or boring is a great skill to develop that will serve you well throughout the rest of your life. Everything is not going to be fun and exciting all the time. Sometimes the world of work is boring and you've got to be able to fight through that. So be determined to do that at this time. Your teachers are determined to help you be successful this year, even if sometimes that means holding you to a standard that's a little higher than you want or like. So just know that they're doing that for your best, and you'll appreciate it in the long run. Just a quick reminder: our goal for the year is that we want to prepare every student for life after high school. So some of the things we do aren't math, English, science, social studies, electives, some of those things, and not that those aren't important, but there are other things that are equally important. So we want to make sure we're focusing on those things. Determination is one of those things, a skill that will last you throughout your life. Now I'm very excited to introduce you our counselor, Miss Ashley Bobo, for a conversation with student Caden Pettibone. Take it away, Miss Ashley Bobo.
I'm excited to introduce you to another one of our seniors. This month, we're going to have a conversation with Caden. His name is Caden Pettibone. And again, he's a senior at SC Leadership, and we're excited that he's joining us. So, Caden, if you don't mind, share a little bit about yourself and about your plans after high school.
My name is Caden. I go to SC Preparatory, and I'm a diesel mechanic for my job. I play lacrosse, and I'm committed to Point Park University. I've been playing lacrosse since fourth grade, and I started because of some friends. I've been playing it ever since. The coach from Point Park just reached out to me, and I went up there. I liked it, and yeah, that's about it.
That is awesome. Well, I'll be honest with you. I had to do a little research when I saw your announcement that you were going to Point. I was really excited. So I believe Point is the Pioneers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Point University is actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So you're going to be traveling quite a ways to go to college.
Yes, ma'am. It's like 9-10 hours.
Oh, that's cool. So, so when you're there, tell me what your major will be again.
I'm gonna do mechanical engineering. So whenever I get out of college, I can start working more into the diesel mechanic stuff, get into a bigger job and start doing bigger jobs, working for bigger companies, and hopefully start my own business shop kind of ran thing.
Okay, and then you'll, of course, like you said, you'll be playing lacrosse for Point as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, how did you get started playing lacrosse? How long have you played?
I've been playing since fourth grade, so I don't know the years on that, but it's been a little while. I started my friend Phoenix, and I've known him forever. We've been friends all my life, and he kind of just like brought his stick to recess one time, and we just started playing. I got into it. I told my parents about it, and ever since everybody's kind of been involved, I've been really involved with it. I loved it. It's not as big as it should be, but I've always played it.
Well, it's definitely growing in popularity, I think. I know I watched it during the Olympics and watched several games after that, and it's very, very interesting. And you have to be in definitely good shape to play that sport. So, kind of tell me what courses you have taken to prepare you to major in engineering.
I guess it just takes dedication. I gotta make sure that's what I want to do. I gotta just get it done. Like whatever they give to me, whatever I can do, just give it all my best and get through it.
And so, I'm assuming you're really good in math and science as well.
A little bit. I like science, math. I'm okay with. I'm good. I'm good enough with it.
That's awesome. So, what advice would you give to incoming students here at SC Leadership?
Just know what your work and have good communication with the teachers. The teachers are awesome. All the faculty, you can really, you have resources to use, and I think you're gonna love it. You can work at your own pace and do what you got to do.
Perfect. That's great to hear. And I know your teachers will definitely be thrilled to hear that. It's always nice when they get feedback from their students. So along with your journey, you've had to apply to college, but you've also had to work on NCAA. Is that right as well for eligibility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
It's
cool.
a process.
Good. Well, we're super excited. Can't wait to hear great things from you coming out of Point, and we'll definitely keep up with you next year on social media. Just checking out your games and your stats, and we wish you the best.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Wow, that's exciting. Thank you, Miss Ashley Bubbo and Caden for talking with us a little bit on the podcast here. Caden, I can't wait to see what you get to do there at La Crosse. So make sure next year you're sending us some videos or pictures of things that are going on. We'd love to keep up with you and see how successful you are. Also, don't forget if you're interested in being part of the Leo Club, which is our student government. Leo stands for, we're the Lions, of course. So Leo stands for Leaders Exemplifying Optimism. So if you're one of those people that wants to make our school better and you're a student, please reach out to me, send me an email, and I'll be glad to put you in that group. As soon as I get started, I'll reach out to you. Those of you that have already done so, you don't need to do it again. Now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Ashley Simpson, our assistant principal, for a chance to maybe get to know one of our middle school teachers a little bit. Take it away, Miss Simpson.
Hey students, Miss Simpson is here with you again, and I have Miss Gee with me. Miss Gee is one of our middle grade teachers here at SC Leadership, and we're going to get to know her a little bit. I have a few questions for her. So, hey, Miss Gee, thank you for being with us this time.
Hi, glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. So, our first question for you is, what kind of student were you when you were in school?
Well, I was actually homeschooled from 3rd grade all the way through high school. So, the don't do what your mother says kind.
Yeah.
I was a little bit rebellious. But by the time I got into high school, I was definitely the kind that I gravitated towards reading and writing. Those were definitely my better subjects. I excelled in those far more than anything math related, and science turns out as you progress turns into math as well. So those just weren't my strong suits, but I was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. I was at school from 8:40 when the bell rang to almost 10 o'clock at night, getting practices and everything in. I was involved in theater, French club, dance, all the things. I did all of it.
Wow. So you were homeschooled, but you still got involved in the local school with activities and stuff?
I started going to school once we moved to town, and we was in high school. I started actually going in person.
Gotcha. And
it's been a culture shock, but
yeah, a little bit of a different experience. But hey, whatever suits each individual, right? So what brought you to deciding to be a teacher?
Well, I was actually on the career path of being a lawyer. I have a paralegal degree and was working in the solicitor's office in my local courthouse. But I kind of found myself just doing the same thing day in and day out. And, I decided, hey, this is not chaotic enough for me. So I had a 5-year-old at the time, and I wanted something that would make my life being a single parent easier with her. So my schedule would would align with hers. And I wanted something that utilized more of my natural abilities, things that I enjoyed doing. And I sat around and thought about it for a while and thought, oh, well, teaching allows me to read and write and create and do the things that I like to do. So I was at a point where it was either go back to school and get a 4-year degree and pursue my actual legal degree, or get into teaching. So I fell into this as a lifestyle change, and it turns out that it fit. So lucky
In
guess.
middle school. So is there a certain reason you chose middle school or middle grade?
Not particularly, other than the fact before I came to SC Prep, I did a year in kindergarten. And while I actually really enjoyed the content of kindergarten, because that allows for all the creativity, it turns out that I don't really handle other people's bodily fluids that well. So,
And with those young ones, unfortunately, that's part of the job.
yeah, that category was not for me. But I also really enjoy teaching craft. So not per se teaching kids physically how to read, but once they get more into that comprehension side and finding the joy in reading and finding the passion in writing and doing it well, that's where I tend to shine. So I gravitated more towards that, and it turns out that those are middle grades and higher.
Right. Well, so you kind of, I don't know if you really answered this question or not. So the next question was, if you weren't a teacher, what would you be doing? So you've kind of flipped it to being a teacher. Is there
Yes.
something else you feel like you would find your self doing if you weren't a teacher?
It kind of happened so early on that I never really looked back, but in that career shift, one of the things that I was contemplating going back to schools, you had to have a 4-year degree in order to go to law school. So I was considering psychology. I really enjoyed the different facets of how the human mind functions and how they interact with our tangled emotions and just people in general, why they do the things they do. That always intrigued me. So that was my secondary path of choice.
I could join you in that, actually. So the last question we actually have today is, what are your hobbies outside of school? What do you like to do for fun?
When I'm not sitting right here in this desk, coffee is a big part of my personality, unfortunately. Cannot live without it. I mean, I could, but I refuse.
You have a nice little setup too, by the way.
You'll have to pry it out of my cold dead hands. I enjoy anything that I can really do with my hands. I paint. I enjoy junk journaling, sculpting. I have an art minor. That's not something that we really focus on here a lot, but I did a lot of anything studio art related. I have dabbled in. I enjoy being outside. I go paddleboarding quite often. I do enjoy traveling, hiking, and seeing the western side of the U.S. is kind of on my to-do list right at hand.
That's awesome, Ms. Gee. I've learned things about you today that I definitely didn't know. So I'm sure our students and families can as well. Well, we appreciate you being here with us and just sharing some of who you are with our students and families today, and even me. We appreciate you for what you're doing with us at SC Leadership.
Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, Ms. Simpson here again. I am talking specifically right now to our seniors because we have wind testing that will be coming up at the end of October. We will be giving wind tests to seniors who for some reason may have not yet taken it, or for seniors that need to retake a certain portion or multiple portions of the wind test. WIN is your career ready assessment that will qualify you once passed as being career ready. Please be on the lookout later this month for information, and specifically a Google form where you will select the location that you would like to test if you are one being invited to take it this fall. We're going to be limited on locations for this fall round. But in the spring, we will offer additional locations. So if one of those locations is not going to work for you, please be mindful that we will have additional locations in the spring round of testing. But just wanted to make you aware that that information was going to be coming out soon to seniors who do qualify.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson and Ms. Gee, for letting us into your world a little bit. Very exciting stuff. It's nice to get to know your teachers on a different level. Also, when testing, make sure you're looking into that. Make sure you're a part of that. You seniors especially, make sure we take care of that. It is one of those things that we want to make sure that you're career ready, and that's an opportunity for you to do that. Now we have a new segment each month that I'm excited about. It's an opportunity for us to talk about leadership. So since we're the leadership school, one of the things we wanted to bring to you is people from the community across South Carolina, maybe even across the nation, who are leaders in their fields. And so we wanted to let them talk to you a little bit about what does leadership look like in the medical world? What does leadership look like in the human resources world? What does leadership look like in the military? What does leadership look like in a variety of different fields? So today I'm excited to have Mr. Craig Wooten with us, who's going to talk to us a little bit about being a leader in the world of business. All right, Craig. So let's this is kind of a new thing we're doing this year. We're doing a podcast, and so we want to talk to people that are leaders in the community, leaders across South Carolina, and leaders across the nation in some cases, hopefully, and just talk about specific things, talk about leadership in their specific area of expertise. Today, we get the privilege of talking to you. So let's tell us a little bit about your background, some things you've done.
Sure. Well, I grew up here in Anderson. I went to what was then Anderson College, and then went to Clemson, and stayed rather close. Went to Charleston for a while in Atlanta, but originally out of school, I majored in tax accounting, which is awful, and I wouldn't say that would be fun for anybody. But it did give me a start, and I worked in public accounting and at that time was called Sarbanes-Oxley Consulting, and really enjoyed it. But then wanted to do something a little bit more entrepreneurial because I was doing a lot of work for other people who were doing some really cool things. And at a certain point, you're like, well, maybe I can do that. And so with that, I started a couple of small businesses on my own. And I got involved in heavily in politics. Had the privilege to work for our senior U.S. Senator for a couple of years, and through that was able to work for a defense contractor. And we primarily did medical supplies for the military, Homeland Security, and then the embassies across the world. So the embassies are always concerned about protection and having a response. So we work with them to provide medical supplies and training. It was just a really cool experience. And then after that, I was able to join a version of the current group we're part of now. That company sold to other companies, and then I was able to join this group almost as a startup, and I really enjoyed that. I like to see something start from the beginning and grow, and that's always been an enjoyable process for me. And so through that, we've done a version of government contracting again, but it's education. Because you think about it, education, you're working with the state, you're working with the feds. And so I was heavily involved in the government affairs part of it, but through that and having that financial background, I've also done a lot of the financial officer part of it. So I was able to bridge that gap.
Yeah. So lots of things to unpack there.
Sure.
You started your own business. So a lot of our students will be interested in starting their own business. So that's a real popular thing among high school students now. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. So talk to us a little bit about some key components of starting your own business.
I would say the biggest thing is patience. Because you can get very excited about starting your own business, and I was guilty of this. You rush out to do it maybe before you have everything together. And a little bit of that's okay, because that sense of urgency will help you figure things out. But if you don't temper that a little bit, you can definitely step into some holes. And then you're your risk level will change as you get married and have a family, as opposed to when you're single.
Right.
But I would say have some sober judgment on yourself on what are you actually good at. And because typically when you get started right out of school, somebody's going to pay you to do one or two things over and over well. And then when you do those one or two things over and over well, then they're going to say, hey, will you manage a group of people who do those things? And your ability to manage a group of people doing those things would be dependent on, can you do it? It's hard to manage. People are not going to have respect for you as a manager or leader if they're like, well, you can't do this. And so you have to have what I always say, a little bit of street cred and whatever discipline that you're doing. And that takes some time. You got to get some years behind you to do that. But the biggest thing with starting your own business, having a plan, listening to others, but realizing that others are going to give you their point of view. If you go talk to a lawyer, they're gonna just talk to you about legal. You go talk to an accountant, they'll talk to you about finance. You go talk to HR. Everybody's gonna give you their point of view. And as an entrepreneur or a leader, you have to take bits of those, reconcile it, and then put it into your own plan. And that's tough sometimes because you got to have a little bit of confidence to say, hey, I like what you told me, but I'm going to do something different. Now, if people are giving you legal advice, you need to do what's legal. But
good point.
But when people are giving you advice of, I think you should go this direction, you got to understand where they're coming from and then make the decision yourself.
Right. So the other thing that really stuck out to me when I was listening to you talked about all of these. Every one of these things led to something else. So
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about making connections and how important that is in the world of business.
I can't underscore it. It's so important. And if you do it well, I joke that some people never have to do a resume again. That the resume is just for the HR file. But they're moving to one thing because of business relationships. And I would say, don't confuse that with personal relationships. Like I have childhood friends and family. I have a personal relationship with them. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. They love me, I love them. A business relationship's a little bit different in the fact that you can have a relationship with somebody, but they have a benefit on their side. They want to know who you know.
Right.
You want to know who they know. And if you both were to get out of the business, you may not keep in touch with each other. You'll just move on in life, and that's okay. And so, but people, it gets down to trust. If people can trust you, then they're willing to take a chance on you.
Right.
And I would say integrity and trust is the biggest thing. If you can't get something done, tell people you can't get it done. If you can get something done, do it to the best of your ability. And that's a rare commodity.
Right.
Because in the business world, there's so many people who, unfortunately, are shortchanging and cheating each other. They're sort of bluffing about their real abilities. And I had a guy one time give me a wonderful opportunity, and he said, and I said, well, why are you giving me this opportunity? And he said, well, I believe if it can be done, you'll get it done. He said, I believe if it can't be done, you'll be honest and tell me. And he said, I'd rather take a risk on you than someone who I believe might be sort of puff and smoke.
Right.
But that takes a couple of years for people to see that in you. And typically if that happens and you're meeting people and you're purposefully engaging and understanding their needs, somebody's gonna call you and say, hey Jim, I got this new project, do you wanna come with me?
Right.
And I always joke, I know you're really big in the sports. It's like you look at any NFL coaching crew, all those guys know each other.
Right.
They either played high school ball together, they coach together, and when one of them gets the head coach at the Seattle Seahawks, they're bringing the others.
Everybody's. Yeah.
But they're going to bring the guys they can trust.
Yeah. That's true. You know, it's a great point for you students out there. Just, you never know, and I always say it this way to students, be nice to everybody, treat everybody right, because you never know who those people are that you're gonna need someday. And don't do it because you're gonna need them someday, but do it because it's the right thing. And then it's gonna pay off in the end. So
100%.
just treat people right. And that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
And what you've done is you've moved from job to job, from different areas to different areas, while at the same time making those connections that helped you in that next area.
Sure.
Give us, if you had to give us 3 top leadership qualities from a business standpoint, and you may have already mentioned them.
Well, I guess in thinking about it, a couple of these qualities could be seen as contradictions to each other, but I hate to use the term balance because balance seems nebulous, but so much of life is balancing things. You know, if you're going to be entrepreneurial, if you believe that you can manage, if you believe that you can lead, and you believe that you can take control, you have to be a little arrogant, or confident, or whatever words you want to put in there. If you're going to be a captain of a team, you got to believe that you can do it. But at the same time, you have to balance it with some humility, because you need to realize that there's other people on that team that can do things you can't do. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be the leader, but they have some skill sets that you can't do. And so you have to balance that. And that's a moving target from day to day. Some days you're going to end the day and go, I did that really well. And then other days you're going to end the day and go, you know, I didn't do that well today. And so I would say balancing those two are key. And then I would say continuous learning. So many people get in a position, and I joked with somebody the other day, the older I get, the more I realize what I don't know. I knew everything at 26.
Right, that's exactly
At 47, I don't even know if I'm educated anymore. But you realize there's so many things out there and so many things that people are experts at. And, you know, read, whether or not you read the newspaper each morning or the Wall Street Journal, or you read something about education or sports, whatever you're into, people expect that you're up to date on it and you're the expert. And that way you can engage and talk to people about, and like I said, you may not be able to go as deep with them, but they recognize that you understand what they know and what they have.
The great advice from a guy who has a lot of experience, a lot of good qualities. Talking to us about leadership, Mr. Craig Wooten. Other than a Clemson fan, he seems like a pretty good guy. Hopefully you got something out of this. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Very exciting things going on in the school, things going on about leadership. We want to talk to you about all those things that matter, not just math, English, science, social studies, and electives. We want to bring all that to you and make sure that you're getting a well-rounded education. We'll talk about some other things at different times, but thank you for doing that so much, Mr. Wooten. We appreciate it. Ms. Simpson, Ms. Gee, Ms. Ashley Bobo, Caden, everybody that contributed this time. Thanks to our IT for putting this together, and our marketing team for posting it for us. Thanks for everybody. And again, I'm Principal Jim Van Hooser. Have a great month. Let's be determined to be successful.